And we're back. All right. We have light again. So anyhow, yeah, heavy modifications such as this. Yeah, that's the frame. You know, floor directly below it, right there. Yeah, same with that. I still don't think I am far enough forward, but I'm going to go ahead and test fit the drive shaft, see where I'm at here. All right, having an oh snap moment. So, remember when I said cutting into this is not for the weak at heart, and may not be cut out for you? Well, oh, let me get my bad ass in here. Okay, yeah, that's your cross member. I'm sure you could tell. That's where the drive shaft is now pinned. I got it just kind of mocked into the U-joint at the moment. Not really, haven't really bolted it in yet because I have a feeling I'll have to take it out a couple of times. Now, with that said, yeah, the problem I am running into is that I am not even laid out yet. That is not even fully collapsed at this moment. I don't know if you can see that in there. But yeah, I am not even fully collapsed yet, and I am already drive shaft touching the cross member under here. So, oh boy, I get to, I've had to cut quite a section out of the floorboard here just to get to this point. And looks like I'm going further. I'm gonna have to. As for my plan with this area, well, not 100% sure just yet. Presume I'm gonna have to plate over the top of this, would be my guess. Just over this whole section I'll have to run a plate over the top of that one, and vice versa, and then bring those together. That's the only thing I can figure I'm gonna have to do. So yeah. Okay, so I'm gonna just kind of do a dub over the top of this audio because there's just a lot of rambling going on, and some of the way I phrased things I think I need to change so I can give you a little bit better explanation of exactly what's going on here. I also had realized I didn't film or capture any footage of me spacing and welding the cross brace in. So I was like, well, crap, I probably ought to do that. With that, I was just doing some testing after I had done welded it in and was trying to lift the drive shaft up and realized it was binding. And I couldn't for the life of me figure out why, so I kind of went back and started looking at the cross braces here. And so this cross brace basically is that X-frame, and I thought originally the drive shaft was just rolling up into it only, and that was causing the bind. But once I had taken the upper side of that cross brace off, and I cut right across there and just kind of pulled that whole cap off as I'm showing you there, I realized that the drive shaft was still getting into a bind that had nothing to do with that cross brace. And this was baffling my mind for the moment. So I called up a friend of mine and was talking to him, and he had mentioned something about the U-joint. And I said, okay. So I took the drive shaft back out and started playing with the yoke and came to the realization that, yes, the U-joint that connects to the spline side had, it had a very limited amount of tolerance to go upward or change pitches basically. So if you can imagine, if the drive shaft was turned, a certain degree, I could pick the drive shaft up almost to the roof. But as I rotated the drive shaft, it would literally force me down just because the bearing could only go so far. And that was actually causing a bind. And I had not even fully laid the car out on the ground yet. So here I'm just kind of demonstrating, if you could imagine this being the front of the drive shaft where the slip yoke is. I had to shave just a little bit in those pockets there. So when the drive shaft got to certain degrees or whatever, it would still give it plenty of clearance to rotate without binding up on me. Obviously, that would have been a big ordeal. I didn't shave a ton. I took a Dremel tool with a sanding bit and basically just kind of went in there and carved out a little sliver of metal there. Again, nothing major, nothing that's going to throw it off balance, and nothing that's going to weaken the structure at all. But yeah, right in that zone, except on the front of the drive shaft, shall we say. And yeah, so that's what I'm basically pointing out here. So basically, by doing this, this allowed the drive shaft to rotate at any pitch point, whether I'm fully aired out or lifted all the way. So it worked out in the long run, and to this day, it's still working great. Again, I'm going over what I did here. Basically, I cut the top cap of that cross brace off of there, and I cut 2 strips out of 3/16 gauge metal and welded them to the cross brace, and then put the cap back on top of it and welded that. It didn't need a ton. It just needed enough to give me just a little bit more clearance, and well, there you go. So because the piece that I had just welded in, it wasn't like a huge change or anything. I was able to actually put the factory sheet metal or floorboard back into position. I basically just tack welded it back in, and I mean, you had to do a little bit of pounding and adjustments here and there, but nothing too major. This piece here has a brace, a floor brace that went across it, so I knew there was going to have to be something done to restructure the floorboard, and I'm just showing you that I can still utilize this metal, or it just depends on what you got laying around the shop. You may not have enough sheet metal to build your own tunnel, shall we say, which I didn't really. So I kind of utilized as much metal as I possibly could from the original floor. So here I am just kind of studying what I need to do. Again, I know I need to rebrace. There's 2 locations, one being right there that has to be rebraced, and then I've got a second hump that will be back right in front of the rear seat that I also will have to brace. I need those welded in and structurally sound, and that way the floorboard has no movement in it, because obviously it's carrying passengers. People are going to be getting in and out of the car and whatnot. So we're going to address that here. And I think here I'm just basically talking about, hey, I can use this sheet metal, and then I got to build my own tunnel, and then that's got to go all the way back there, and I got to cover all this crap up. And okay, so here we are, braces. Yes. So I had a couple of very strong pieces of flat stock there that I utilized in the front section. Now, there were some channels, obviously where the original bracing was. It looks like that, of course. And so I took some of that flat stock and just welded 2 pieces together that I had, and then put them inside that channel, and then welded that inside the channel. Made it super strong. I was under no concern about it flexing or moving or anything, and so that worked out pretty well there, and gave me plenty of clearance for my drive shaft there as well, as you can see. And then there's this piece. Didn't really have a way of bending the 1x2 piece of tubing there, so I figured the best way to do it was to just kind of put a bunch of notches in it and bend it where I need it, and then I would just weld those all together once I had the shape I wanted. So kind of just showing you that this is where I'm going to put it. And it actually slipped inside the channel that was there, so that worked out pretty well, which is what I was after, and that, again, will re-support that floorboard, which is what we are after. So there it is. After I had done some test fits, I just kind of welded in there. Not the prettiest piece in the world, not going to lie, but, Again, I'm just doing this out of my garage and trying to do the best with what I got. So yeah, I have to get this inside of those pockets. Once they're inside of those pockets, I can re-weld all that together and then add some gussets and re-strengthen that zone. Here I am, of course, trying to fit this bastard in there, you know, because it's being kind of a bitch. But finally got it. The car, I just wanted to point out that the car is currently completely laid out, so it's at its lowest point, and there is a more than ample amount of drive shaft clearance there. I wouldn't even drive on it when it's this low, generally. Come to find out, you do. You know, you can't help it. You want to drive that low when you're going through a parking lot or something. But the point of this being is that I wanted to make sure that the drive shaft had tons of clearance and that I would never have to screw with this again. So I am not too concerned about that portion for sure. I welded the brace completely in to the floorboard. Here it's painted, and we're going to run it through its paces so you can see that there it is, fully lifted in the rear. Tons of clearance for that drive shaft. And then when we air it back out, there you go, man. Lots of clearance, which is what I was after. All right, so we're sheet metaling the floorboard back in. And did use some of the original metal, especially up front here. Went ahead and used the original piece. It went back in pretty comfortably. Second piece kind of had to do a little bit of lifting on it and such. Built the tunnel, and I basically took that bar, set it on top of the drive shaft to give me ample clearance, and then just rolled a piece. Nothing more than just bending it little by little on the floor and an anvil. And didn't hammer it, just, you know, kind of rolled it. It took several cuts. As you can see, there's like pieces here and such, you know. Did a couple of cuts to kind of get it formed where I needed it. And then welded it in. And now we're going to tackle... Oh yeah, I also did that piece back there. Sorry, let me change perspectives there. Also did this piece. Did just a quick cardboard template so I could get what I needed, you know, forming wise, especially down towards the floorboard area. And then just tacked it into place right now, and I'll do a finish weld on it here probably before I go ahead and tackle the remainder of this tunnel. And yeah, so that is the goal today, is to do that, and then we're after these guys. Kind of hard to see, but anvil, yeah, I just literally bend a flat piece of metal over that and just kind of keep, you know, rounding about that until I get the tunnel that I need. So that's all I'm doing. Okay, so kind of got a piece started here, round piece here, you know, a little tunnel vision here. My brace there, as you can tell, I need to do an overhang on that and then bring it over the top of that brace. So I'm going to have to notch it basically. See if I can get my camera angles here correct. Anyhow, so I just took a hammer and just kind of lightly dented, I don't know if you can see that very well, but dented the line there where that brace is.
and then I'm gonna like do some pie cuts basically. Nothing major, not trying to get crazy on it, but I need to just get a couple of release points in here. So when I set this back in, I'll be able to hammer that down, and then I can weld it to the piece that's currently in there as well. So I don't know, that's my theory of how this is going to get done. I'm sure a stretcher or a shrinker would probably do this job much nicer, but this will all be under carpet and the seat, so I'm not too overly concerned. Anyhow, just thought I'd show you that. Oh man, so there you go. It's tack welded in right now. I'll do the final weld here in a minute, but see why I put those slits in there? Like I said, I'll tack weld it and do the final weld here in just a minute. Oh, by the way, I had to bring my #1 fan in because it's getting a little fumey in here, you know?
All right, it's the final weld of the drive shaft tunnel. I will be addressing the other 2 holes that are under the seat at a later date. I was anxious to get to the front suspension, but you'll also see that I seam sealed everything and primed it and prepped it for paint and whatnot. But we're off to the front end. Let's get some bags under that front.